How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a pretty good day, because today we have a story of a Gen Z kid who thinks the moon is actually made out of cheese, ends up betting all the pocket money that he has on it, and, well, gets really mad when people tell him that the moon is actually, in fact, not made out of cheese. Leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's jump into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Johnny. So anyways, let me tell you a little something about Johnny's school. They were all in 7th grade, and they still got recess at that time. So anyways, when they would get recess in 7th grade, there was something called the school casino that was ran by the school mafia. I know, we're getting into quite an interesting start. So obviously it wasn't school sponsored because, shocking, the school doesn't actually sponsor a gambling casino for little kids. I mean, this isn't Steak and Twitch right now, bro. Like, this isn't Twitch, bro. But anyways, yeah, so sure enough, it was run by the students, and it was very, like, underground and low-key. And basically what they would do is you could bring in either some pocket change, you could bring in some candy, you could bring in some Pokemon cards. As long as it was something as everyone saw as valuable, there was kind of like a whole conversion chart, like a certain type of Pokemon card was worth a certain amount of dollars, worth a certain amount of, like, dude, I think they'd even allow you to do, like, credits of, like, Robux, so you could write on a piece of paper, basically an IOU, being like, I'll give you this many Robux, I'll give you this many V-Bucks. Like, basically, you could bet with whatever you had as long as people wanted it, and as long as it was something that you could actually give away. Like, you can't bet your TV because, dude, probably, bro, like, your mom's not going to let you go into your TV and be like, oh yeah, by the way, can I have this? So in the middle school mafia, they would basically run, or I guess the high school, well, no, 7th grade is middle school. So the middle school mafia would run all the quote-unquote casinos and the playground, and there would be a lot of different events you could bet on. For example, you guys could have a 1v1 basketball match, and to all the teachers watching the kids on the playground, it just looked like a bunch of kids were playing casual 1v1 basketball, but little did they know, they were literally having a massive, like, gambling type tournament, right? Little did they know. However, you could also make very specific bets. For example, you guys could play, like, a lot quicker matches. Think of it like if you wanted to play a whole poker game versus slot machines. Sometimes you want to go in there, do a little bit faster, or you want to do something else. So there was an option where what you could do is you could make smaller bets on something. For example, you could have, like, a 2 out of 3 rock, paper, scissors, and you both put down, like, I don't know, a Hershey's Kiss or something. Normally, the middle school mafia, what they would do is basically they would take a cut. Like, bro, this was a legitimate business, especially for 7th graders. They would take a cut of the total pie, so they wouldn't let you just put down, like, one Hershey's Kiss, because they're like, hey, bro, how are we supposed to take a tenth of a Hershey's Kiss? But, like, if you were betting, like, V-Bucks, you'd have to give them, like, a small percentage of the V-Bucks, right? So it was actually kind of funny. It was like a legitimate mafia, but for middle schoolers and betting on random stuff. But one very popular thing was basically like you could go in and bet with someone, like, about a fact. For example, you could go in and, bet about, like, oh, like, I think, Drew and Nancy are going to start dating within the next 2 weeks. Then you would go in and you get odds for that. So basically, like, oh, there's, like, people would get, like, basically the people betting against it would come up with, like, okay, well, I don't think it's going to happen. What odds do you want to give? They'd eventually all decide on odds, and then you could make money if your friend got with this girl or not. It was a pretty crazy time to be alive, to say the least. Yeah, so anyways, though, there was also, you could bet on a specific fact, as I was saying. So this story all starts one day, right, when Johnny, who we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Johnny, right? This story all starts one day when Johnny, entered the playground casino, right? So it was very nonchalant. They didn't want to, like, I don't know, go into a supply closet and write, underground casino, don't tell the staff, right? Because that would be a pretty clear indication of, what they were doing, and that would get them caught pretty quickly, to say the least. So what they ended up doing is they would always move locations, and it would be just basically what you'd need. A few middle school mafia members would come together. It's so crazy I'm saying that so nonchalantly. I'm literally just saying, oh, middle school mafia, like it's nothing. However, yeah, you get a few middle school mafia members together, right? And basically they would facilitate the thing, make sure it went down, and of course take their cut. So anyways, we're going to call this kid the Gen Z kid. And we're going to call him the Gen Z kid because he spent way too much time on TikTok. The only reason you guys should be on TikTok is to follow my account at Pugs. And I basically just upload my YouTube shorts on there, so you really don't even need to follow me. But if you're on TikTok anyways, go drop me a follow. Maybe we can save some more people from TikTok. They'll find me on there, then they'll come over here and they'll be on the good platform. But anyways, right, we're going to call this kid the Gen Z kid because he spent so much time on TikTok that he basically got his entire worldview and all the information about everything from TikTok. I mean, the amount of misinformation that this kid believed was fact was actually a crazy number. And that's just because he got all of his information from TikTok. Bro, if you're getting your weekly recap from like some guy on TikTok screaming at you, telling you to like and subscribe, dude, I tell you to like and subscribe because I'm a YouTuber telling you stupid stories. I'm not telling you like important information that will affect your day to day. Yeah, so the Gen Z kid basically got all of his information off of TikTok, and this is why this kid was able to be convinced that the moon was actually made of a cheese. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you right now, bro. So it's like a common funny saying or common expression or whatever, oh, the moon is made of cheese. But even as a kid, like, I never believed the moon was made of cheese. I believed a lot of stuff, by the way, but I still never believed that the moon was actually made of cheese because I at least knew that there were no cows on. The moon was not made births from some big old cow that, like, got milked and then the milk kind of, like, formed into cheese, right? Like, I had enough common sense that I knew that that was just definitely not a thing that could happen. However, this TikTok kid, or I should really say Gen Z kid, because he could have been on Instagram Reels for all I know, or maybe he's really gone to the dark side and he's on, Snapchat Spotlight. Ooh. Anyways, though, yeah, so sure enough, this kid actually believes that the moon is made out of cheese, right? And somehow, Johnny hears of this. And the thing is, Johnny doesn't even totally know how he knows this for a fact, but basically, kind of like, I think this Gen Z kid must have very casually dropped it in conversation, just like speaking about outer space, and someone must have picked up on it. So like kind of like a little low-key rumor spread that this kid, aka the Gen Z kid, genuinely believed that the moon was made out of cheese. And obviously people weren't going to let this slide. So Johnny decided that, you know what, okay, this kid believes something that is obviously false. Let me actually make some money off of this. Let me profit off of my friend's ignorance, which, I mean, hey, man, I'm not going to come for this guy. He's got to get his bread somehow. And, like, I guess that's how the Gen Z kid's going to learn that the moon is actually not made out of cheese, from losing a lot of money because of his beliefs. I don't know, man. Sometimes that's really effective. Yeah, but anyways, right, so Johnny and the Gen Z kid, basically Johnny goes up to the Gen Z kid and says, hey, like, do you want to go to, like, the underground casino or whatever? Because the Gen Z kid was a little weird, but, like, basically every kid in the class was involved. Like, it was a really big deal. Basically the Gen Z kid's like, sure, bro, like, whatever. So they go there, and Johnny's like, hey, man, like, do you want to make a bet? And obviously the Gen Z kid's like, okay, it depends on what. And Johnny's like, what the moon is made out of. It's a very specific comment. And part of Johnny was thinking that, like, okay, well, there's a chance that someone's, like, pulled the Gen Z kid aside and is like, hey, bro, I hate to break it to you, but the moon is not actually made out of cheese. Like, I gotta let you know a fact that'll be super important for your life. Basically, bro, the moon is not made out of cheese. It's made out of rock, okay? Got that? Cool. So no, apparently no one had done that. Because, the Gen Z kid looks at him and is like, okay, sure. And so basically, right, he lets the Gen Z kid go first. So they find two people in the middle school mafia. They go up to them and, like, Johnny's like, all right, bro, we're trying to make a bet. Can you help us out? And they're like, yeah, sure. Like, okay, what do you want to make a bet on? And Johnny looks at them and is expecting them to give, like, him a look because of what he's about to say, which in all fairness, what he's about to say is pretty funny. Yeah, so when Johnny tells the guy in the middle school mafia that they're actually going to be making a bet on what the moon is made out of, I think the guy kind of gives them a weird look, but maybe he was like, oh, maybe it's a really specific bet. So, like, oh, is the moon made out of what type of rock? Not if the moon was made out of rock versus cheese. Like, no one would have saw that coming. Like, I get it. If someone's like, oh, what are the components of, like, asphalt? Okay, I can get that. Like, That's a question I don't really know without looking up, but I can definitely see how people might make two different bets on that. However, just is it made out of rock versus like, I don't know, bread? Okay, pretty clearly asphalt, basically the stuff on like if you guys don't know what that is, that's like a lot of driveways, a lot of black driveways use asphalt for like the material. If you're making a bet on what types of rocks are in it, I get that. But if you're making a bet on if it's made out of rock or cheese or bread or something like that, like bro, what kind of bet is that? So anyways, how this thing would work was basically you guys would both give an answer and then they'd agree on a way to validate it. So one way to validate it would be to look it up on Google, and they both agree to that. So both of them were not allowed to look it up beforehand, but yeah, so on the middle school mafia guy looks at the Gen Z kid and is like, okay, what bet do you want to officially put in? Well, first of all, before that, they're like, all right, what are you going to put down for payment? So anyways, they both have $5 on them, $5 bill on Johnny and five $1 bills on the Gen Z kid. So they gave it to the middle school mafia member. He holds on to it. He's like, all right, I'm going to take, $1 from the pot at the end of the day. And anyways, so what are your bets? And so he looks at the Gen Z kid. And the Gen Z kid looks at him and he says cheese. And the middle school mafia guy's like, eh. Yeah, so the middle school mafia guy looks at the Gen Z kid and kind of gives him this real look of, are you sure that's your final answer, bro? Like, out of all your answers, are you sure that's your final answer? And he doesn't say it because they're very good about not trying to, like, push someone towards the right answer. He just pauses for a second before asking Johnny for his. It's just such a goofy answer that I can understand that he's like, is this like a joke answer? And he's going to, like, correct it. So he gave him a second to, like, correct his answer, but no, it was his legit answer. His legit answer was just simply, oh, it's made out of cheese, right? Of course, right? So Johnny looks at him and says, rock. So, the middle school mafia guy is like looking at them, trying to figure out this is some kind of elaborate prank, but then again, he doesn't question that. He's like, okay, final answer for what the moon is made out of. Gen Z kid, you said cheese, and Johnny said rock, right? And they both agreed. So he's like, all right, I will come back with your answer in 30 seconds. And with that being said, let's make the secret word of the day cheese. So if you made it this far into the video, comment cheese down below in the comment section. And while you're in the comment section of this video commenting cheese, make sure to look at the pinned comment on this video, as there's a link to the Spotify page in which I upload all these stories as podcasts. So if you like using Spotify and want to listen to these as podcasts on there, that's the official link. I think it's also on Apple Podcasts, but I don't have a link for that. But I do have a page. And also check out the second channel, as I am uploading more story videos, but those are from Reddit, where these are from you guys. So you guys get more stories and a more variety of them as well. Anyways, let's get back to it. So sure enough, the Gen Z kid is kind of waiting there, and Johnny they're both waiting there. And the Gen Z kid doesn't look nervous at all. He looks very confident with his answer. And I think pretty obviously Johnny is confident with his answer, because when you're taking a bet against is the moon made of cheese or rock, I'm pretty sure you can be fairly confident with your answer, bro. Like, I don't know about you, but I think I wouldn't be quivering in my boots, right? I don't think I would be, so sweating buckets, right? Oh my God, I'm so nervous. What if it's actually made out of cheese and I've been wrong the whole time? No, I will not be worried about that. So eventually the middle school mafia kid comes back and he's like, all right, well, after about 1 second of research, Johnny wins. The moon is made of rock. It's not made of cheese. The Gen Z kid is like, no, you must be mistaken. And the middle school mafia kid's like, no, look at this. Pulls up like Google search, and it doesn't say rock, but it says some type of rock, right? And so the Gen Z kid's like, no, that's a type of cheese. And the middle school mafia guy's like, bro. And the Gen Z kid's like, what? So the middle school mafia guy's like, so he goes to, like, he copy and pastes whatever the name of, like, the rock that the moon is made out of, types that into Google, and it shows, yeah, okay, that whatever that was a type of rock. So at this point, the Gen Z kid is like, okay, this is insane. Your information is wrong. Your facts are wrong. I want my money back. And the middle school mafia kid's like, sorry, bro, that's not how it works. So he takes $1, puts it in his pocket to go to the middle school mafia fund, and then gives the $9 to Johnny. And the Gen Z kid's like, whoa, bro, I just got robbed. Like, my information is true, and I just got robbed. So I think it's pretty obvious that he did not get robbed. He just played himself, bro. I think we all can agree with that. But anyways, right, sure enough, the Gen Z kid is getting really mad about this. He's basically throwing a big temper tantrum about how his facts are real and your yeah, what he said was facts, and that like you can't tell him otherwise, and that the whole thing is rigged, and that Johnny must have paid off the middle school mafia, and that they're all gonna regret it. So here's the little thing about the middle school mafia. It always existed on extremely thin ice because pretty obviously the school wouldn't really like something like this. I mean, it's literally a bunch of kids cosplaying as an actual mafia and running a casino. Like, bro, I can see why the school maybe not be a, they might not be a big fan of this, bro. And because the middle school mafia and the whole like casino type thing was on just like such thin ice, basically, if at any point anybody snitched, the whole thing would be over. The reason why nobody snitched up to this point is that like everyone kind of had at least one good experience. Sure, people would lose, but it would never be over anything too crazy, and it would always feel fair because, you know, if you lose a basketball match, that's tough. But like I guess most of the kids were just motivated to go back on the court and beat the other person instead of trying to tear the whole thing down. But here's the thing, the Gen Z kid who genuinely believes that the moon is made out of cheese must have felt as if that he was personally slighted by the fact that, you know, he wasn't or his answer wasn't chosen, therefore the whole system's corrupt. Therefore, why would he protect a system that he believes robbed him of his $5 and also is just corrupt and will rob people again in the future? Because if it's a corrupt institution, like what's stopping them from doing it again to other people? At least that's the logic of this Gen Z kid. But then again, this is the logic of someone who thinks the moon is actually made out of cheese. But anyways, the next day, is a little different from most other days. Because when Johnny comes into school, every kid has this weird look on his face, and all the teachers are not very happy. And sure enough, soon on the school announcements, right, once they all get to first period, there's an announcement saying instead of recess, they're all going to a mandatory meeting. So you already know that you're in trouble if the teachers cancel your recess for a mandatory meeting, right? And most kids could probably figure out what it was about. They didn't know at this point who was the one who snitched on them, but they knew for a fact that someone did. Yeah, so basically, after a couple classes, it was recess time, but instead of recess, everyone was shuffled off to the school auditorium. And in the school auditorium, there was like all the teachers were standing up there, and they started so basically they said, hey, we have been informed what's been going on. We want to let you know that that is not acceptable on school grounds or whatever. You guys should know better. Like, you know, gambling is whatever, right? So then they go into like a 20-minute long presentation about the risks and dangers of gambling, which is totally legit. A lot of people destroy their entire lives around gambling. It is an addiction, stuff like that. And so they're pretty legit for doing this, right? Actually, I think the school made a good choice coming in and stopping this, even though it does sound pretty fun. But yeah, the entire time, like people are talking around like who did this, like who told or whatever. And that's when, right after the meeting, later on, apparently word starts getting around that the Gen Z kid was bragging to people that he was the one who shut down the middle school mafia because they were like unfair to him, right? So yeah, sure enough, the Gen Z kid basically becomes a social outcast because look, everyone loved this system. So when you say that you're the one who tore it down, people aren't going to be nice to you. You might think that it's unfair, but bro, you can't tell me that you didn't see it coming.